My name is Rabbi David Barron. I'm the Rabbi of Temple of the Arts here at the Saban Theater, and we want to welcome all of you tonight for the Jewish Policy Center's gathering. We're thrilled and honored to have all of you here and to have this distinguished panel who we're all going to learn a great deal from. It's really gratifying to see this response filling our theater's orchestra, and we're thrilled that all of you made it here tonight in this busy season of many Jewish holidays. And to our Jewish attendees, we wish you a happy and healthy New Year and Chag Sameach, a joyous Sukkot festival. Tonight we'll all have an opportunity to learn and grow, and we're looking forward to that. Right now I'd like to begin by asking everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And it's my great honor to call on Matt Brooks, Executive Director of the Jewish Policy Center. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are not familiar with us, the Jewish Policy Center is the sister organization of the Republican Jewish Coalition, which you may be familiar with. The JPC is an unabashedly conservative, pro-American, pro-Israel think tank in Washington, D.C. And for those of you who would like to learn more, I really encourage you to visit us online at our website, which is jewishpolicycenter.org. The JPC publishes a scholarly journal called In Focus Quarterly. We also publish a daily blog called Insight and a website called Palestinian Rocket Report, detailing the rocket threats to Israel from Gaza. And of course, we host forums like these all across the country featuring the best policy minds of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, we meet tonight under uncertain times. We meet here to examine how best to secure America's future. We will be discussing anything from energy policy to the war on terror, from healthcare reform to the Palestinian-Israeli peace talks, and of course, Iran's steady march toward a nuclear weapons capability. And no discussion on America's future at this critically important time would be complete without talking about the ever-expanding role of government in our lives. These and other issues will be discussed tonight in a very lively panel format. It's interactive, and we welcome you to take part. But before we get underway, a few words of thanks. First, I would personally like to thank the people here in Los Angeles who made this evening possible. Rabbi David Barron, thank you very much. Sam and Ardith Freshman and Stender Sweeney from Wells Fargo, thank you all very much who made this possible with your generosity. It is because of the important contributions that this event is taking place here at the Saban Theater. I would also like to thank Doris Ohayon for her tireless work and our volunteers here this evening who helped make sure everything runs smoothly. We have an unbelievable staff, and Doris and the whole team is just fabulous. And finally, I'd like to thank the Jewish Policy Center's Matt Brodsky, Samara Greenberg, and Harris Viederman, who also worked very hard to make this event come together tonight. Now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our moderator. Michael Medved, as we all know, is a veteran film critic and best-selling author. In fact, is the author of 12 books, including The 10 Big Lies About America, and his most recent work, The 5 Big Lies About American Business. He is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host, as we all know. His broadcast reaches more than 2.5 million listeners on nearly 200 stations across the U.S., making his show one of the top 10 in America. And we all know we can listen to him here on KRLA, right? Thank you. That's what happens when I go off my notes. I'm also proud to say he is a Jewish Policy Center Distinguished Fellow. Michael will now introduce the rest of our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Michael Medved.
Thank you for coming out, and what a wonderful crowd and what a wonderful panel. And the panel really needs not too much introduction. You have information about all of them. So ladies first, Mona Charen is one of the most valuable and consistently astute conservative voices. She as a child, was on the editorial staff of National Review. Her syndicated column is one of the most influential and widely read in the United States. Her two best-selling books, Useful Idiots and Do-Gooders, describe some of the malformations of the American left ideologically. She also served as a speechwriter for a very great lady named Nancy Reagan, Mona Charen. David Horowitz has the wonderful advantage of being local. And that's after he escaped from the People's Republic of Berkeley, where at one time he was a fixture of the Berkeley left as editor of Ramparts magazine. David is the author, he's come a long way, baby. David is the author of 3,423 major books. Or so it seems. He makes all the rest of us look like slackers because he turns out new books all the time, from his best-selling biographies of the Fords and of the Rockefellers to his very controversial book, Unholy Alliance, about the very unlikely alliance of the American left and Islamo-Nazi fascists, to his most recent book, which is called Reforming Our Universities, which has been a major project of his. By the way, if you tune in to KRLA this coming Friday, which happens to be the second day of another Jewish holiday, but we have pre-taped a session with David Horowitz taking on one of the most left-wing academics in the country, Robert Jensen of the University of Texas. That'll be broadcast this Friday between noon and 3 on KRLA AM 870. David Horowitz. Cliff May is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. He is a veteran journalist who has been both an editor and a correspondent for, believe it or not, the New York Times and many other prestigious publications. Cliff has been a special advisor to the State Department on issues of spreading democracy around the world. He reported directly to Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and his columns appear regularly in venues ranging from National Review Online to the American Spectator and many, many others. Cliff May. All right, what we're going to try to do here is go around quickly with quick responses from all of the panelists to 2 rounds of questions, and then we're going to try to open it up to the audience because given the fact that this is a Jewish Policy Center event, in our past events we have found that very often people are not shy about either their opinions or their questions, and we do want you to be able to participate as much as possible. First question, I want to ask this of each of the panelists in turn, and then we'll go on from there. The title for tonight's occasion is Securing America's Future. David Horowitz, what is the most serious threat in this September 26th, 2010, to the future of this great republic?
Wow. Well, the threat is from the Unholy Alliance. We're facing probably the most.
If you can speak into the.
Probably the most serious threat in our history from. I think Michael's right in calling it Islamo-Nazism, which comes in two forms. One is the overt terrorist threat, and the other is a fifth column threat within the Western countries from Islamists who are determined to destroy Western civilization. And this is probably the more serious of the two threats. And you can see how they work in tandem. Well, with the recent, the little preacher in Florida who wanted to burn a Koran, America is so terrified of the Islamo-Nazis that the president, the secretary of defense, the head of our troops, all came down on his head. I don't think what he did was too smart, but to forestall what? A threat of an attack. The appeasement is the mentality now in Washington and throughout our culture. And what makes this threat, the Islamo-fascist or Islamo-Nazi threat, so serious is that it is part of it. It is supported by the international left and the American left. America is guilty before it does anything. Mark Stein had an interesting post on his website today, in which he pointed out that when he went to Guantanamo, in each cell there's a brand new Koran for these terrorists, and it's encased, it comes to them in plastic so that it's not defiled by the infidels, which is us. And so these infidels, at least the ones that represent us in Washington and through them in our military, accept the indictment or accept the point of view of these terrorists, that we're unclean and we can't, if we handle the Koran, we defile it. So there's to me, this is the most serious crisis in the West, is its lack of a will to defend itself, to stand up for itself.
Mona Charen, the most serious threat to the future of the Republic.
Well, I would add to what David has said, because I do agree that this civilizational self-confidence, if you will, is a problem for the West in general. But I think that the question we are now faced with is, we know that Europe is gone. Europe has lost self-confidence. Europe is awash in self-blame, trying to make amends for their imagined sins over the centuries. And of course they committed some, but then who hasn't? But they have given up the idea that Western civilization is something that ought to be defended, although there are pockets of revival that you see, the French banning the burqa and so on. But the question for us is, where does the United States stand? Throughout the post-war period, the United States was the country that said, we still believe in Western civilization and we still believe in the uniqueness of the American experiment in ordered liberty. We have not given up. And so we are now faced with a party in power that would like to Europeanize the United States and make us much more like the socialist economies of Europe, which also means a very significantly reduced international role for the United States, and those who are protesting against this and saying, no, we still believe in American ideals, we still believe in American exceptionalism, and we still believe that America has a role in defending Western civilization. So those are the stakes, and that, I think, is the great question that will be resolved in the next 2 elections.